She kissed him to hurt someone else. That was the plan. Simple. Clean. A flash of rebellion wrapped in lipstick and spite. One kiss. One stranger. One moment to make her ex-boyfriend's perfect little world tilt sideways while he stood there with the woman he'd chosen over her, both of them glowing like betrayal had a spotlight. But nothing about that night went the way she thought it would. The gallery was too bright, the kind of artificial warmth that made everyone look softer than they were. Champagne glasses caught the light. Laughter echoed off marble walls. It was an art opening, one of those events where people pretended to care about abstract paintings while really just networking and flirting and playing the game of who could smile the sharpest. She didn't want to be there. She came because she'd been invited. Because she thought she'd moved on. Because 3 months should have been long enough to stop feeling like her chest had been hollowed out with a spoon every time she thought about him. It wasn't. And then she saw them. Her ex-boyfriend, tall, charming, the kind of man who wore confidence like cologne, standing near the wine table with his arm around her. The woman he'd said was just a friend. The woman he'd told her not to worry about. The woman whose name tasted like acid every time it crossed her mind. They were laughing. Not the polite kind of laughter you give strangers at parties. The intimate kind. The kind that said they'd been doing this for a while. The kind that said she'd been the fool long before she found out. Her stomach twisted. She should have left. She knew that. She should have turned around, walked out of that too bright gallery, and gone home to cry into her pillow like she'd done every night for the past 3 months. But her feet stayed planted. Her eyes stayed locked on them. And something hot and ugly unfurled in her chest. Anger. Not the clean kind. The messy kind. The kind that made her hands shake and her vision blur and her heart pound so hard she thought everyone in the room could hear it. She wanted him to hurt the way she hurt. She wanted him to feel small. She wanted him to know what it was like to watch someone you loved choose someone else, right in front of you, like you never mattered at all. And that's when she saw the stranger. He was standing alone near the back wall, half hidden by shadows, looking at a painting like it actually mattered. He wasn't dressed like the others, no designer suit, no carefully styled hair, no expensive watch glinting under the lights. Just dark jeans, a simple jacket, and an air of calm that didn't belong in a room this loud. No one was looking at him. That's what made her choose him. She didn't think. She just moved. Her heels clicked against the polished floor as she crossed the gallery, weaving between clusters of people who didn't notice her, didn't care, didn't see the small, desperate war happening inside her chest. The stranger turned when she approached. His eyes met hers. And for a second, just a second, something in her hesitated. There was something about the way he looked at her. Not surprised. Not curious. Just steady. Like he'd been expecting her. Like he knew exactly what she was about to do and was simply waiting to see if she'd go through with it. She didn't give herself time to think. She reached for him, fingers curling into the front of his jacket, pulling him closer. His expression didn't change. He didn't resist. Didn't pull away. He just let her do it, let her close the space between them, let her rise up on her toes until their faces were inches apart. "I'm sorry," she whispered. She didn't know why she said it. Maybe because some part of her knew this wasn't fair. That she was using him. That whatever happened next wasn't about him at all. He didn't say anything. And then she kissed him. It was supposed to be nothing. A show. A performance for an audience of one. Just enough to make her ex look, to make him feel the sting she'd been carrying for months, to prove that she was fine, that she'd moved on, that she didn't need him anymore. But the moment their lips touched, the world went quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet. The wrong kind. The kind that hummed with something ancient and dangerous, like the air before lightning strikes, like the stillness before a storm breaks. Her pulse stuttered. The stranger's hand came up, not to push her away, but to steady her, fingers brushing the small of her back with a gentleness that didn't match the sudden intensity crackling between them. And then she felt it. A pull. Not physical. Deeper. Like something inside her recognized something inside him, something old and primal that had been sleeping until this exact moment. Her skin prickled. Her breath caught. Heat spread through her chest, wild and unfamiliar, like her body had woken up to a truth her mind didn't understand yet. This wasn't nothing. This was everything. When she finally pulled back, her hands were still tangled in his jacket. Her lips were tingling. Her heart was hammering so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. The stranger looked at her. Really looked at her. And in his eyes, calm, unreadable, impossibly deep, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Recognition. Not the kind you get when you meet someone familiar. The kind you get when you've just done something irreversible. Something that changed the rules. Something that couldn't be undone. He didn't pull her closer. He didn't smile. He didn't say a word. He just let her go. And then he walked away. Just like that. No explanation. No backward glance. He moved through the crowd like water, slipping between conversations, disappearing into the shadows near the exit, gone before she could even process what had just happened. The room came rushing back. Laughter. Music. The clink of glasses. Everything was the same as it had been 30 seconds ago, but everything felt different. Wrong. Like the air had shifted. Like gravity had tilted just slightly off-center. She turned. Her ex was staring at her. Not angry. Not jealous. Not hurt. Pale. The woman beside him had stopped laughing. She was looking at the door where the stranger had disappeared, her face tight with something that looked like fear. Around them, people were whispering. Not about her. About him. Did you see? Wasn't that? No way, he never comes to these. Who is she? Her skin prickled again, but this time it wasn't heat. It was ice. Someone touched her arm. She spun, heart leaping into her throat, but it was just one of the gallery staff, a woman with kind eyes and a nervous smile. Miss, the woman said quietly. I think you should go. What? Why? Just trust me. You should leave. Now. The woman's hand was shaking. She didn't understand. She didn't understand any of it. But the look in the woman's eyes, urgent, almost pleading, made her move. She left the gallery in a daze, stepping out into the cool night air. The city stretched out around her, lights glittering against the dark sky, traffic humming in the distance. Everything looked normal, but nothing felt normal. Her phone buzzed. A text. From a number she didn't recognize. You shouldn't have done that. Her breath caught. Another message. He doesn't let go of what's claimed in front of witnesses. Her hands were shaking now. She typed back with trembling fingers. Who is this? Who is he? The response came immediately. You really don't know, do you? He's the Alpha King. And you just kissed him in front of a rival. In his world, that wasn't a kiss. It was a vow. The phone slipped from her fingers. Behind her, the gallery doors opened. People were streaming out now, voices urgent, excited, scared. She caught fragments of conversation. Called his people. Never seen him react like that. She has no idea what she just. But she wasn't listening anymore. Because across the street, half hidden in shadow, she saw him. The stranger. The Alpha King. He was watching her. And when their eyes met, he didn't look away. He didn't smile. He just stood there, still and patient, like he had all the time in the world. Like he was waiting for her to understand. That kiss wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. And there was no going back. If you're hooked and want to know what happens next, subscribe to Cindy's Wolfheart stories. Because this is just the beginning, and trust me, you don't want to miss what comes after. She didn't sleep that night. How could she? Every time she closed her eyes, she saw him. Standing in shadow. Watching her with those impossibly calm eyes. Eyes that knew things she didn't. Eyes that had looked at her like she'd just signed a contract she couldn't read. She told herself it was nonsense. Alpha King. Witnesses. Vows. It sounded like something out of a fantasy novel, not real life. Not her life. She was nobody. A graphic designer with student loans and a dying succulent on her kitchen windowsill. She didn't belong in a world where kisses meant claims and strangers turned out to be kings. But the text messages kept coming. Not from him. From numbers she didn't recognize. Warnings. Questions. Some curious, some threatening, all of them asking the same thing. Did she know what she'd done? By 3 in the morning, she'd blocked 17 numbers. By dawn, she'd stopped counting. She called in sick to work. She couldn't face the office, couldn't pretend everything was normal when her phone kept buzzing with messages from strangers who somehow knew her name, knew where she lived, knew about the kiss. She made coffee. Let it go cold. Made more. The city outside her apartment window looked the same as always. Traffic. Pigeons. A woman walking 3 small dogs. Everything ordinary. Everything safe. Except it wasn't. Because at 9:37 in the morning, there was a knock on her door. She froze. 3 sharp raps. Deliberate. Not the casual knock of a delivery person or neighbor. This was the knock of someone who knew she was inside. Someone who was used to being answered. Her heart hammered. She thought about not answering. About pretending she wasn't home. About calling the police and explaining what? That a stranger kissed her back at an art gallery and now she was getting weird texts and someone was at her door and she was scared? They'd think she was crazy. Maybe she was. The knock came again. She crossed the apartment slowly, each step deliberate, and looked through the peephole. Her breath stopped. It was him. The stranger from the gallery. The man she'd kissed. The one they called the Alpha King. He looked different in daylight. Not softer, nothing about him was soft, but more real. The shadows that had hidden him last night were gone, and she could see him clearly now. Strong jaw. Dark hair that looked like he'd run his hands through it once and forgotten about it. Features that would have been handsome if they weren't so carefully controlled, like he was holding something dangerous just beneath the surface. He wasn't looking at the peephole. He was looking at the door handle. Like he knew exactly where she was standing. "I know you're there," he said. His voice was deeper than she remembered. Quiet. The kind of voice that didn't need to be loud to be heard. The kind that made you listen even when you didn't want to. "I'm not going to hurt you," he continued. "I just want to talk." She didn't move. "Please." That single word, soft, almost careful, made her hand reach for the deadbolt before her brain could catch up. The door opened. They stared at each other. Up close, he was taller than she'd realized. Broader. There was a presence to him that filled the doorway, not aggressive, but undeniable. Like gravity had shifted slightly in his direction. "You shouldn't have opened the door," he said. "You shouldn't have knocked." His mouth almost smiled. Almost. Fair point. She crossed her arms, trying to look braver than she felt. "What do you want?" "To explain." "Explain what?" "That you're some kind of werewolf king, and I accidentally married you by kissing you in public." She meant it to sound sarcastic. Dismissive. But her voice shook, and they both heard it. His expression shifted. Something that might have been guilt flickered across his face. "Not married," he said quietly. "Claimed." "That's not better." "I know." The admission surprised her. She'd expected denial. Aggression. Maybe for him to tell her she was crazy, that this was all a misunderstanding, that she should forget about last night and move on with her life. But he just stood there, looking at her like he was trying to figure out how much truth she could handle. "Can I come in?" he asked. "No." "Then can you come out?" "There are things I need to tell you, and I'd rather not do it where your neighbors can hear." She glanced past him. The hallway was empty, but she could feel eyes watching. Doors that should have been closed had thin lines of light beneath them. People listening. People curious. She grabbed her jacket and keys, stepped into the hallway, and pulled the door shut behind her. "Talk," she said. He looked at her for a long moment, like he was deciding where to start. Then he turned and began walking toward the stairs. "Follow me." I'm not asking you to trust me," he said, stopping but not turning around. "I'm asking you to let me keep you safe. There's a difference." Something in his tone, exhausted, resigned, like he'd had this conversation before and knew how it would end, made her feet move. She followed him down the stairs, out of the building, and into the morning light. He led her to a car parked across the street. Black. Expensive. The kind that whispered money without shouting it. He opened the passenger door and waited. She didn't get in. I'm not getting in a car with a stranger. You kissed a stranger last night. That was different. Was it? She hated that he had a point. He seemed to sense her hesitation because he stepped back, giving her space. I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to hurt you. But if you want answers, I need you to come with me. Just for an hour. Somewhere we can talk without being overheard. Why should I believe you? Because if I wanted to hurt you, I would have done it already. It should have been threatening. It should have made her run. But something about the way he said it, matter of fact, almost sad, made it sound like the truth. She got in the car. He closed the door gently, walked around to the driver's side, and slid behind the wheel. The engine purred to life, smooth and quiet. They drove in silence. She watched the city slide past. Familiar streets. Familiar buildings. Everything normal. But she felt like she was moving through a different world now, one that existed just beneath the surface of the one she'd always known. What's your name? She asked finally. He glanced at her, then back at the road. Raymond. That's not a normal name. I'm not a normal person. Yeah, I'm getting that. Another almost smile. What's yours? He asked. She hesitated. Giving him her name felt dangerous. Like it would make this real in a way she wasn't ready for. But he already knew where she lived. He'd gotten past her building's security. He probably knew everything about her already. Grace. He repeated it softly, like he was tasting the syllables. Grace. Something about hearing her name and his voice made her skin prickle. They pulled off the main road, winding through narrower streets until they reached a park. Not one of the big tourist ones. A smaller place tucked between buildings with old trees and empty benches and the kind of quiet that only exists in hidden spaces. He parked, got out, waited for her to follow. They walked until they found a bench far from the entrance, shaded by branches that filtered the morning light into gold. He sat. She didn't. Last night, he began, you kissed me. I know. I was there. You kissed me in front of someone who'd hurt you. Your ex-boyfriend. You wanted him to see it. To feel what you'd been feeling. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. I understood that, Raymond continued. I saw it in your eyes. You weren't kissing me because you wanted me. You were kissing me because you wanted him to hurt. So in my world, in the world I come from, context matters. Who sees? Where it happens? What it means? He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. Among my people, a kiss given in front of a rival isn't just affection. It's not romance. It's a public declaration. It's saying, this person is mine, and you have no claim to them. It's political. Binding. Her stomach dropped. You're saying. I'm saying that the moment you kissed me in front of your ex-boyfriend, in front of a room full of witnesses from my world, you made a claim. And because I didn't refuse it, because I let it happen, I accepted. But I didn't know. I know you didn't. His voice was gentle. That's why I'm here. To explain. To try to fix this before it gets worse. Worse how? He looked at her then, really looked at her, and she saw something in his eyes that made her breath catch. Fear. Not for himself. For her. Because now they think you're mine, he said quietly. And people are already making moves. Testing boundaries. Trying to figure out who you are, what you mean to me, whether you're a weakness they can exploit. I'm nobody. You were nobody. He stood, towering over her, and she realized how much control he'd been exercising to seem less dangerous. But the moment you kissed the Alpha King in public, you became somebody. And now every rival, every enemy, every person who's ever wanted to hurt me is going to try to use you to do it. Her legs felt weak. She sat down hard on the bench. I didn't ask for this. I know. I just wanted to hurt him. My ex. I just wanted him to feel small for once. I know. So what do we do? Raymond crouched in front of her, bringing himself to her level. We have options. I can publicly renounce the claim. It would be complicated, politically messy, but it would free you. Then do that. Or, there's an or you let me protect you. She stared at him. Protect me how? By keeping the claim. By letting people think you're mine. By staying close enough that no one can touch you without going through me first. You mean pretend. I mean survive. The word hung between them, heavy and sharp. And if I say no? His jaw tightened. Then I renounce the claim, and you go back to your life, and hope that everyone who's interested in you right now loses interest quickly. Hope. Yeah, that doesn't sound promising. It's not. She closed her eyes, trying to think, trying to breathe, trying to understand how a single stupid kiss had turned her entire life inside out. When she opened her eyes, he was still crouched in front of her, still watching her with that steady, patient gaze. Why do you care? She asked. If this was my mistake, why are you here? Why are you offering to protect me? Something flickered across his face. Something raw. Because I've seen what happens to people who get caught in my world without meaning to, he said quietly. And I'm tired of watching innocent people pay for games they didn't know they were playing. There was history in those words. Pain. Loss. She recognized it because she carried her own. How long? She asked. How long what? If I say yes, if I let you protect me, how long would it last? Until it's safe. Until the interest dies down. Until we can separate without putting you at risk. Weeks? Months? I don't know. At least he was honest. She looked at him, this stranger who wasn't a stranger anymore, this man who'd become something she didn't have a name for the moment their lips touched. She thought about her apartment, her job, her ordinary life that suddenly felt fragile as glass. She thought about the text messages, the warnings, the fear in the gallery woman's voice. She thought about the way Raymond had looked at her last night and the way he was looking at her now. Different, but the same. Like she mattered. Like she was worth protecting. Okay, she said. His eyes widened slightly. Okay, I'll let you protect me. I'll play along with this claim thing. But I have conditions. Name them. You don't lie to me. Ever. If something's happening, if I'm in danger, you tell me. Done. And when this is over, when it's safe, you let me go. No strings. No complications. I get my life back. Something passed through his expression, too quick to read. Deal, he said. He stood, offering his hand. She took it. His fingers closed around hers, warm, solid, real, and that pulse she'd felt last night sparked to life again. Stronger this time. More insistent. His grip tightened for just a second, like he felt it too. Then he let go. We should get you somewhere safe, he said. Your apartment isn't secure. Where? My place. It's protected. Warded. No one gets in without permission. I'm supposed to just move in with you. Temporarily. This is insane. I know. But she followed him back to the car anyway. Because somewhere between the gallery and the park bench and the feeling of his hand in hers, she'd made a choice. Maybe not the smart choice. Maybe not the safe choice. But hers. And as they drove toward whatever came next, she realized something that should have scared her more than it did. She wasn't running from him. She was running toward him. And she wasn't sure if that made her brave or stupid. Maybe both. His place wasn't what she expected. She'd imagined something cold. Corporate. A penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows and furniture that looked expensive but uncomfortable. The kind of space that said, I have power, without saying anything else. But Raymond's home was different. It was a house, not an apartment. Tucked into a quiet neighborhood that somehow felt separate from the rest of the city, like it existed in a pocket of space that followed different rules. Old trees lined the street. The houses had history in their bones, stone and wood and architecture that predated the glass towers downtown. His was at the end of a cul-de-sac, partially hidden by an iron gate that opened silently as they approached. The inside was warm. That was the first thing she noticed. Warm in a way that had nothing to do with temperature. Dark wood floors. Leather furniture that looked lived in. Bookshelves that actually held books, not decorative objects. A fireplace with ash still in the grate, like it had been used recently. It felt like a home. Not a showpiece. Not a statement. A place where someone actually lived. Guest room is upstairs, Raymond said, setting her bag down by the door. Second door on the right. Bathrooms across the hall. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen. She stood in the entryway, suddenly aware of how surreal this was. 24 hours ago, she'd been a normal person with normal problems. Now she was standing in the home of a man who claimed to be an alpha king, agreeing to pretend to be his, what? Girlfriend? Mate? She didn't even know the right word. You're quiet, he observed. I'm processing. Take your time. He moved past her into the kitchen, and she heard the sound of running water, the clink of glass. He returned with 2 glasses of water, offered her one. She took it. Drank. Realized how thirsty she was. You should rest, he said. It's been a long morning. I'm not tired. You're exhausted. I can see it. She wanted to argue, but he was right. She could feel the weight of the sleepless night pressing down on her shoulders, the adrenaline that had kept her moving finally starting to drain away. What about you? She asked. What are you going to do? Make some calls. Handle things. Make sure people know you're under my protection. And that'll work? They'll just back off. Most of them will. The smart ones anyway. And the ones who aren't smart? His expression darkened. I'll handle them. The certainty in his voice should have been reassuring. It wasn't. Because she heard what he wasn't saying. The promise of violence if anyone crossed the line. The willingness to do whatever it took to keep her safe. She didn't know him well enough to know if that made him a hero or something else. Maybe both. She went upstairs. Found the guest room. It was simple but comfortable, a large bed with soft linens, a window that looked out over the garden, a small desk in the corner. She sat on the edge of the bed and pulled out her phone. 17 new messages. She didn't open them. Instead, she opened her photos. Scrolled back. Found the ones she'd been avoiding for 3 months. Pictures of her and her ex smiling. Happy. Or what she'd thought was happy. Now, looking at them with distance and clarity, she could see what she'd missed before. The way he never quite looked at the camera when she did. The way his smiles were always just slightly performative. The way she was always leaning into him, and he was always leaning slightly away. She'd ignored the signs. Or maybe she'd seen them and told herself she was imagining things. That she was being paranoid. That love meant giving people the benefit of the doubt. But love wasn't supposed to make you feel small. Love wasn't supposed to make you question yourself every time you voiced a concern. Love wasn't supposed to end with finding out he'd been sleeping with someone else for 6 months, while telling you that you were being jealous and insecure for asking questions. She deleted the photos. All of them. It felt like peeling off a bandage. Painful. Necessary. A small act of reclaiming something she'd lost. When she was done, she lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling. The truth was, she'd felt broken long before last night. The kiss hadn't started this. It had just forced everything into the open. She'd been walking around with a hole in her chest for months, pretending she was fine, pretending the betrayal hadn't gutted her, pretending she was the kind of person who could just move on and forget and start fresh. But she wasn't. She was the kind of person who felt everything too deeply, who loved too hard, who trusted too easily and paid for it every time. Her mother used to say she had too much heart for her own good. Her ex had said she was too sensitive. Maybe they were both right. She closed her eyes. And suddenly she was somewhere else. 17 years old. Standing in a field behind her grandmother's house. The grass was tall and wild, catching the last rays of sunset, turning everything gold. Her grandmother stood beside her, old hands weathered by time, eyes sharp and knowing. You feel it, don't you? her grandmother had asked. Feel what? The pull. The heat. The thing inside you that doesn't quite fit. Grace had looked at her hands. They were trembling. They'd been trembling for weeks. I don't know what you're talking about, she'd lied. Her grandmother had smiled. Sad. Understanding. Your mother had it too. My mother before her. Goes back generations. We're not like other people, child. We carry something older. Something the world forgot how to name. You're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. Power without understanding is dangerous. What power? I'm just... But before she could finish, something had happened. The air around her had shimmered. Heat had rolled off her skin in waves. And for just a moment, just a breath, her hands had glowed. Silver. Like moonlight made solid. Her grandmother had grabbed her wrists, grounding her, pulling her back. Control it, she'd whispered urgently. Don't let it control you. What is it? What's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. But people fear what they don't understand. And if anyone finds out what you can do, they'll either try to use you or destroy you. So what do? You hide it. You bury it. You pretend to be normal until you're strong enough to protect yourself. Grace had learned that lesson well. She'd spent the next decade pushing down every strange sensation, every moment when the heat tried to rise, every instance when she felt something wild and ancient stirring beneath her skin. She'd become an expert at being normal, at being invisible, at making herself small enough that no one looked too closely. Her grandmother had died 2 years after that conversation. Heart attack, the doctors said. But Grace had always wondered if it was something else. If the thing they carried, whatever it was, took a toll. If hiding it for so long wore you down from the inside. She'd never told anyone about that day. Not her mother, who'd moved across the country and rarely called. Not her friends, who wouldn't have believed her anyway. Not her ex, who'd made it clear he didn't like it when she talked about weird stuff. She'd locked it away. Told herself it was a childhood memory. An overactive imagination. Nothing real. But lying in Raymond's guest room, she felt it stirring again. That heat. That pull. That sense that something inside her was waking up after years of forced sleep. And she was terrified. She must have dozed off, because when she opened her eyes, the light outside had changed. Afternoon shadows stretched across the floor. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. We need to talk about what you are. Her breath caught. Another message. He doesn't know, does he? The Alpha King. He thinks you're human. Her hands were shaking. But we know better. We can smell it on you. That old bloodline. That forbidden gift. You don't belong in his world. You don't belong in any world. She dropped the phone. It clattered against the hardwood floor. Footsteps on the stairs. Quick. Purposeful. Raymond appeared in the doorway, and she realized with a start that she was standing in the middle of the room with her hands glowing. Silver light poured from her palms, bright and wild and completely out of control. His eyes widened. Not with fear. With recognition. Grace, he said carefully. I need you to breathe. I can't. Yes, you can. Look at me. Focus on my voice. She tried. God, she tried. But the light was getting brighter, and her skin felt like it was burning from the inside out, and she couldn't remember how to make it stop. Raymond crossed the room in 3 strides. He took her hands. The light blazed between them, so bright she had to close her eyes, and she waited for him to let go, to recoil, to look at her with the same fear and disgust she'd seen in her grandmother's eyes that day. But he didn't let go. He held on tighter. I've got you, he said. Whatever this is, I've got you. And somehow, impossibly, the light began to fade. The heat receded. Her hands stopped shaking. When she opened her eyes, he was still holding her hands, his grip firm and grounding. What was that? He asked quietly. I don't know. Grace. I don't know. Her voice broke. I don't know what I am. I don't know why this happens. I just know that it does, and I've spent my whole life trying to hide it because my grandmother told me I had to, and now people are sending me messages saying they know, and I don't understand any of this. The words tumbled out in a rush, years of secrets and fear and confusion spilling over. Raymond didn't interrupt. He just listened. When she finally ran out of words, he said, "Show me the messages." She retrieved her phone from the floor with trembling hands. Opened the texts. Handed it to him. His jaw tightened as he read. "Do you know who sent them?" she asked. "I have suspicions." He looked at her. "This bloodline they mentioned. Do you know anything about it?" "My grandmother said it went back generations. That we carried something old. She died before she could explain." "Your grandmother's name?" "Catherine Winters." "Why?" Something flickered across his face. "I've heard that name." "Where?" "In stories. Old ones. About bloodlines that predated the packs. Lineages that carried gifts the wolf kind considered dangerous." "Dangerous how?" "Because you didn't need to shift to have power. Because your gifts worked differently than ours. Because some of the old families could do things that even the strongest alpha couldn't match." He handed her phone back. "They tried to wipe out your bloodline centuries ago," he said quietly. "Hunted them. Killed them. Drove the survivors into hiding. I thought they'd succeeded. That no one from those families remained. But I'm here." "Yeah, you're here. Is that a problem?" He looked at her for a long moment. "It's complicated. Everything about this is complicated." "Fair point." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so human and frustrated that it made him seem less untouchable for a moment. "Look, this changes things. If people know what you are, if they think you're from one of the old bloodlines, you're not just a random human who got caught up in pack politics. You're a threat. A symbol. A reminder of power that challenged theirs. So I'm in more danger." "Yes. Great. But it also means," he paused. Chose his words carefully. "It means the claim I made isn't just political anymore. It's ancestral. Two old powers acknowledging each other. That carries weight. Protection. But also what? Also consequences if we break it." Her stomach dropped. "What kind of consequences?" "The kind that could start a war." The room felt smaller suddenly. The air thinner. "I didn't ask for any of this," she whispered. "I know. I just wanted a normal life. A normal relationship. Normal problems. I know. And now I'm some kind of magical threat who accidentally claimed an alpha king and might start a war if I break it off?" "Pretty much." She laughed. It came out slightly hysterical. Raymond's mouth twitched. "Are you okay?" "No. Definitely not. But I'm also too tired to panic anymore, so I guess that's something." He surprised her by smiling. A real one this time. Small, but genuine. "Come on," he said. "I'll make you something to eat. You'll feel better with food in you." "Will I?" "Probably not. But at least you won't be hungry and terrified." "Just terrified." "That's not as reassuring as you think it is." But she followed him downstairs anyway. Because what else was there to do? They ate in silence. Raymond made pasta, nothing fancy, just garlic and olive oil and fresh herbs that smelled like comfort, and they sat across from each other at his kitchen table like two people pretending this was normal. It wasn't normal, but it was something. "Where did you learn to cook?" she asked, twirling noodles around her fork. "My mother. Before she died, she insisted I know how to feed myself. Said no son of hers was going to be helpless in a kitchen." "She sounds practical." She was. His expression softened. Practical. Strong. Terrifying when she needed to be. She would have liked you, I think. "Why?" "Because you're not intimidated easily. And because you called me out on my nonsense in the park without blinking." Grace smiled despite herself. "Is that rare?" "More than you'd think." They finished eating. She insisted on helping with dishes, needing something normal to do with her hands. They moved around each other in the small space, him washing, her drying, and it felt strangely domestic. Like they'd done this before. Like they fit. She didn't want to think about what that meant. "I need to take you somewhere tomorrow," Raymond said, draining the sink. Where? A place outside the city. It's sacred. To my people. And to yours. I don't have people. You do. You just don't know them yet. She dried the last plate, set it carefully in the cabinet. Is this necessary? If we're going to figure out what's happening, why your power is surfacing now, why people are targeting you, we need answers. And the best place to find them is where our histories overlap. Histories overlap? Wolfkind and the old bloodlines weren't always enemies. Once, a long time ago, there was cooperation, mutual respect, sacred sites where both could gather safely. And one of those sites is near here? About 2 hours north. In the mountains. She thought about it. About staying here, safe in this house that felt like a sanctuary. About ignoring everything and hoping it would go away. But it wouldn't go away. She knew that now. Okay, she said. Tomorrow. He nodded. Get some sleep. We'll leave early. She didn't sleep well. Dreams came in fragments, silver light and howling wolves and her grandmother's voice saying hide it over and over until the words lost meaning. She woke before dawn, gave up on rest, and went downstairs. Raymond was already awake. She found him in the living room, standing by the window with a cup of coffee, watching the sky lighten. Couldn't sleep either, she asked. Not really. Worried. Always. She poured herself coffee. He'd already made a full pot and joined him by the window. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Why did you let me kiss you? He turned to look at her. What do you mean? At the gallery. You saw me coming. You knew what I was going to do. You could have stopped it. Stepped away. Said no. But you didn't. Why? He was quiet for a long moment. Because you looked desperate, he said finally. And I know what that feels like. To want so badly to hurt someone who hurt you that you'll do something reckless. Something you can't take back. So you felt sorry for me? No. I felt recognition. Of what? Someone at the end of their rope. Someone who'd been pushed too far. Someone about to do something that might save them or destroy them. He took a sip of coffee. And I wanted to see which one it would be. The honesty in his voice made something in her chest tighten. And, she asked, which was it? Still figuring that out. They left at sunrise. Raymond drove a different car this time, an SUV built for rough terrain, and they headed north out of the city. The urban sprawl gave way to suburbs, then to open land, then to forests that looked older than memory. The road climbed. Mountains rose around them, ancient and patient. We're close, Raymond said. 10 minutes later, he turned off onto a barely visible dirt road. Trees pressed close on both sides. The path was rough, full of ruts and rocks, but the SUV handled it easily. They emerged into a clearing. Grace's breath caught. In the center of the clearing stood a circle of standing stones. Not as large as Stonehenge, but old, so old she could feel it in her bones. Each stone was twice her height, covered in moss and symbols she didn't recognize. The circle was perfect despite centuries of weather and time. And in the very center, a flat stone altar. What is this place? She whispered. A sanctuary, Raymond said. One of the last ones left. Where our kinds made peace, once upon a time. They got out of the car. The air felt different here. Charged. Like reality was thinner, like something ancient was paying attention. Raymond led her toward the circle. As they got closer, her skin began to prickle. That familiar heat rising. But different this time. Not out of control. More like response. Like something in this place was calling to something in her. Do you feel it? He asked. Yes. They stepped between two of the standing stones. The world shifted. Not visibly. Not obviously, but she felt it, a change in pressure and gravity in the very fabric of the space around them. This place is outside normal territory, Raymond explained. Protected by old magic. Old agreements. No one can claim it. No one can fight here. It's neutral ground. Grace walked toward the center altar. The symbols carved into the stones began to glow. Silver light. The same color as her hands. Raymond. I see it. She reached the altar and placed her palm on the stone. Everything exploded into light. Vision. Not her memory. Not her imagination. Real. She was standing in this same circle, but it looked different. Newer. The stones were clean, unweathered. No moss. No age. And the clearing was full of people. Wolves on one side. Humans, no, not quite human, on the other. The old bloodlines. They were gathered for something. Some kind of ceremony. Some kind of treaty. A woman stepped forward from the bloodline side. Tall. Proud. Silver light dancing around her fingers. A man stepped forward from the wolf side. Strong. Alpha. Eyes that glowed gold. They met in the center. Clasped hands. And when they did, the entire circle blazed with light, silver and gold mixing, swirling, creating something new. A voice spoke. Neither male nor female. Old. Impossibly old. Two powers. One purpose. When the line between them blurs, when claim and gift align, the balance will be tested. And in that testing, either harmony will be reborn, or war will consume what remains. The vision fractured. Another scene. Fire. Screaming. The stones still standing, but surrounded by bodies. Wolf and bloodline alike. Betrayal. Murder. The treaty broken by fear and greed and the terrible human need to dominate what we don't understand. Another shift. A woman alone, bleeding, clutching a small child, running through the forest. Hunters behind her. Wolves. Hunting down the last of the bloodlines. Erasing them. Trying to erase the memory of what they'd been. The woman looked back. Her face was familiar. Same bone structure as Grace's. Same eyes. Ancestor. She mouthed words Grace felt more than heard. Hide. Survive. Remember. Grace gasped and stumbled back from the altar. Raymond caught her before she fell. What did you see? He demanded. Everything, she whispered. The treaty. The war. Why they tried to kill us. Why? Because together, bloodline and wolf, we were too powerful. The treaty made us stronger. United. But some of your people couldn't handle that. Couldn't handle sharing power. So they broke it. Slaughtered us. Tried to make sure we could never unite again. His grip on her arms tightened. Grace. That's why people are scared. Not because of what I am alone, but because of what we are together. You and me. Alpha King and Bloodline Heir. The prophecy said if our powers aligned, if we claimed each other, the balance would be tested. And we kissed in front of witnesses. We did more than kiss. She looked at him, horror dawning. We fulfilled the first part of the prophecy. Claim and gift aligning. That's why people are reacting this way. That's why they're terrified. Or excited. What? Some will be scared, Raymond said quietly. But others will be thrilled. Because if the prophecy is real, if we really are what the vision suggests, then we could bring back what was lost. The alliance. The power. The balance. Or we could start a war. Or that. She pulled away from him, pacing. This is insane. I'm nobody. I'm not some prophesied hero. I'm just a girl who's been hiding her whole life because she didn't know what else to do. You're Catherine Winter's granddaughter. You carry the old gift. You made a claim that resonated through the spirit realm loud enough to wake sacred sites. You're a lot of things, Grace. Nobody isn't one of them. She spun to face him. You should renounce the claim. Right now. End this before it gets worse. It's too late for that. Why? He gestured to the stones. Because they've already accepted it. The old magic. The sacred compact. It recognized what happened between us at that gallery. It's already written into the fabric of things. So we're stuck. We're bound. What's the difference? Stuck implies we have no choice. Bound implies we still do. She stared at him. That doesn't make any sense. The prophecy doesn't say we have to be together. It just says our powers aligning will test the balance. We can choose how we respond to that test. We can run from it. Fight it. Or what? He moved closer. Not threatening. Just present. Or we can face it, he said. Together. Figure out what this means. What we're capable of. Whether the prophecy is a warning or a promise. And if it's a warning, if being together really does start a war, then we'll deal with that when it comes. But Grace, wars don't start because two people found each other. They start because people are afraid of change, of power they can't control, of a world that might not center them anymore. He was right. She hated that he was right. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. Neither do I. You're supposed to be an alpha king. All-powerful. All-knowing. I'm just a guy who inherited a title and a lot of problems. He smiled slightly. I'm making this up as I go, same as you. Despite everything, she almost laughed. The stones around them pulsed once, gentle, approving, and then the glow faded. We should head back, Raymond said. Before anyone notices we're gone. Too late for that, I think. Probably. They walked back to the SUV together. As Raymond started the engine, Grace looked back at the stone circle one more time. It looked dormant again. Quiet. Just old stones in an old clearing. But she knew better now. Some things that looked dead were just sleeping, waiting for the right moment to wake. They were 20 minutes from the city when Raymond's phone rang. He glanced at the screen. His jaw tightened. I need to take this, he said, and answered. What's wrong? Grace couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she watched his expression darken with every passing second. When? Pause. How many? Another pause. No, don't engage. I'm on my way. He ended the call. What happened? She asked. Someone challenged the claim. Her stomach dropped. What does that mean? It means one of the rival alphas has publicly declared that your bond with me is illegitimate. That you're not worthy of protection. That I'm weak for accepting a bloodline as a mate. So what happens now? Now I have to answer the challenge. Publicly. In front of the council. The council. The gathering of regional alphas. They're already convening at my estate. We're walking into a political ambush. He pressed harder on the accelerator. Grace's hands were shaking again. Can't we just not go? If I don't show, they'll take it as admission that the challenge has merit. That you're not under my protection. That anyone can come after you without consequence. And if we do show, then I have to defend the claim. Prove it's legitimate. Prove you're worthy. How do I prove I'm worthy to people who think my entire bloodline should be extinct? He didn't answer. Because there was no good answer. They arrived at Raymond's estate to find it transformed. Cars lined the long driveway. People, wolves, she realized, even though they looked human, clustered in groups on the lawn, watching with predatory interest as Raymond's SUV approached. Stay close to me, he said quietly. Don't respond to provocations. Don't let them bait you. And whatever happens, don't let your power flare. What if I can't control it? Then we're all in trouble. Helpful. They got out of the car. The crowd parted as they walked toward the house, but she felt their eyes. Judging. Calculating. Some curious. Some hostile. All of them wondering the same thing. What was she? The main hall had been converted into a council chamber. Chairs arranged in a semicircle. Alphas, she counted 7 sitting like judges. All of them radiating power. All of them watching her like she was a problem to be solved. Raymond led her to the center of the room. He didn't sit. Didn't bow. Just stood there, hand resting lightly on her lower back, showing everyone present that she was with him. An older man stood from the center chair. Silver hair. Sharp eyes. Authority that felt earned, not inherited. Alpha Raymond, the man said formally. We've called this assembly because of concerning developments. You made a public claim 3 days ago. A claim that has implications. I'm aware of the implications, Elder Aaron. Are you? Because from where we sit, this looks like either gross negligence or deliberate provocation. I claim someone who needed protection, as is my right. Your right as Alpha King allows you to protect any member of our kind. But she, Aaron gestured at Grace, is not one of our kind. No, she's bloodline. The room erupted. Voices overlapping. Anger. Fear. Disbelief. Aaron raised his hand. Silence fell immediately. You're certain? Aaron asked. The sacred stones confirmed it. She carries the old gift. Then you know what must happen. Raymond's hand on her back pressed slightly harder. Protective. I know what you think must happen. I'm telling you it won't. A woman stood from the left side, younger than Aaron, but no less intimidating. Alpha presence rolling off her in waves. You're protecting a genetic weapon, she said coldly. The bloodlines nearly destroyed us once. We won't let history repeat. She's not a weapon, Raymond said. She's a person. A person whose grandmother was Catherine Winters. A name spoken in our histories as the Silvered Witch. The one who could command wolves without alpha power. The one who burned 3 packs to ash when they came for her family. Grace's blood ran cold. My grandmother never. Silence, the woman snapped. You don't speak here unless given permission. Raymond's power flared. Grace felt it like a physical force, pressing against everyone in the room. She speaks when she wants, he said quietly. And anyone who tells her otherwise answers to me. The woman's eyes narrowed. You're choosing her over your people. I'm choosing not to murder an innocent woman because of bloodline prejudice. If that makes me a traitor in your eyes, Alpha Saris, then so be it. Saris. Grace remembered that name from Raymond's list. One of the old names. Powerful. Dangerous. Aaron intervened before the confrontation could escalate. This helps nothing. The question before us is simple. The claim stands or it doesn't. But we need assurance. What kind of assurance? Raymond asked. She submits to binding. Magical restraints that prevent her from using her gift against our kind. Protections that ensure she can't become the threat her grandmother was. No, Raymond said immediately. Then the claim is illegitimate. She's unprotected. And any alpha present has the right to challenge her existence. Grace felt the room shift. Predators circling. They'd been waiting for this. The excuse. The permission. Her power stirred. She pushed it down. Not yet. Not here. Not in front of all of them. There's another option, a voice said from the back. Everyone turned. A man stepped forward. Younger. Handsome in a dangerous sort of way. Eyes that missed nothing. Alpha Felix, Aaron acknowledged. You have a proposal? A test, Felix said, looking directly at Grace. If she's truly bloodline, she'll have the gifts. Let her prove it. Let her demonstrate control. Show us she's not a threat. And if she can't? Saris asked. Then the claim is revoked. She's bound and exiled. End of discussion. Raymond's jaw clenched. This is fair, Aaron finished. Alpha Felix's proposal is reasonable. The girl proves she can control her power, or she accepts binding. Those are the options. She's not a trained bloodline heir, Raymond argued. She didn't even know what she was until 3 days ago. You're asking her to demonstrate mastery of gifts she's been hiding her entire life. Then perhaps, Saris said coldly, you shouldn't have claimed her. The room fell silent. All eyes on Grace. She felt the weight of it. The expectation. The hope from some. The desire for failure from others. She thought about running. About letting Raymond renounce the claim. About going back to her small life and pretending none of this had happened. But she couldn't. Because they'd already made up their minds. Already decided she was dangerous. Already labeled her threat before she'd done anything except exist. Just like they'd done to her grandmother. Just like they'd done to every bloodline they'd hunted and killed. And she was tired of being afraid. Fine, she said. Raymond looked at her. Grace. No. They want a demonstration? They'll get one. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. She looked at Aaron. What's the test? Aaron studied her for a long moment. Then he gestured to the center of the room. Stand there. She did. He nodded to someone at the door. 3 wolves entered, actual wolves, not people who could shift, and positioned themselves around her. Large. Aggressive. Eyes glowing with unnatural intelligence. These are bound to Alpha Saris's will, Aaron explained. They will attack. If you have the gift, if you're truly bloodline, you should be able to stop them without violence. without harming them. Your grandmother could command wolves with thought alone. If you carry her blood, you'll be able to do the same. And if I can't? Then they'll tear you apart, and we'll know you were just human after all. Raymond moved. This is... Aaron raised his hand. You can intervene. But if you do, you admit the claim is false. That she can't stand on her own. That she needs alpha protection because she's weak. Your choice. It was a trap. A perfect trap. Either Grace succeeded and proved she was dangerous, or she failed and proved she was worthless. Either way, they'd have ammunition to use against Raymond. Sarah smiled. Begin. The wolves attacked. Everything happened fast. Teeth. Claws. 300 pounds of muscle and fury coming at her from 3 directions. Grace's instinct screamed run. But there was nowhere to run. So instead, she reached for the heat inside her. The thing she'd been pushing down for years. The gift her grandmother had called dangerous. The power she'd been taught to hide. She stopped hiding. Silver light exploded from her hands. The wolf stopped mid-lunge frozen, suspended in midair like someone had hit pause on reality. The room gasped. Grace's heart hammered. She didn't know what she was doing. Didn't know how she was doing it. She was acting on pure instinct, on something deeper than thought. The wolves hung there, caught in her power. She could feel them. Their minds. Their fear. Their confusion. They hadn't wanted to attack. They'd been compelled. Forced by Saris's command to do something that went against their nature. Enough, Saris said sharply. Release them. But Grace wasn't listening to Saris anymore. She was listening to the wolves. And gently, so gently, she lowered them to the ground. They landed on all fours, shook themselves. And then, to everyone's shock, they walked over to Grace and sat. All 3 of them. Like loyal dogs waiting for her command. One of them, the largest, pressed his head against her leg. Good boys, she whispered. I'm sorry she made you do that. Saris stood abruptly. They're mine. They obey me. They obeyed her command first, Felix observed. Looks like the gift is real. Saris's face twisted with rage. This proves nothing except that she's dangerous. It proves she has control, Aaron said quietly. More control than we expected, certainly. Grace looked up at the assembled alphas. The silver light still danced around her fingers. The wolves still sat at her feet. You wanted a demonstration, she said. Her voice didn't shake. Is this enough? Or would you like me to prove something else? Maybe I should show you what my grandmother did when your people came for her family. Should I burn this whole estate to ash? Would that satisfy your curiosity? Grace, Raymond said quietly. A warning. But she was done being quiet. You call me dangerous because I exist. Because my blood carries something that scares you. But I've never hurt anyone. Never threatened anyone. I've spent my whole life making myself small and invisible because I was afraid of people like you. She let the power flare brighter. But I'm not afraid anymore. The room was dead silent. Aaron stood slowly. The test is concluded. The claim stands. She has demonstrated sufficient control to be considered stable. For now, Saris added coldly. For now, Aaron agreed. But girl, Grace, understand this. You walk a knife's edge. One misstep, one loss of control, one hint that you're a threat to our kind, and this protection ends. Claim or no claim. Understood. Good. He looked at Raymond. And you, Alpha King. This claim has made you responsible for her. If she falls, you fall with her. I hope she's worth it. She is, Raymond said without hesitation. Aaron nodded. Council dismissed. Everyone out. The alphas filed out slowly, but Grace felt their eyes on her. Some curious. Some calculating. Saris looked like she wanted to rip Grace's throat out, but was being held back by protocol. Only when the room had cleared did Grace let the power fade. The wolves at her feet whined softly. She knelt down, stroked their heads. You're free, she whispered. Go back to her. But remember that you have a choice. Always. They looked at her for a long moment, those impossibly intelligent eyes full of something that might have been gratitude, and then they trotted off. Raymond was beside her in an instant. Are you okay? No. Her hands were shaking. I'm absolutely not okay. You were incredible. I was terrified. You didn't show it. Good. He helped her stand. We should go. Before someone decides to issue another challenge. Is that likely? After what you just did? Extremely. They headed for the door. But Felix stepped into their path. That was quite a show, he said. Move, Raymond said coldly. Relax. I'm not here to challenge. Felix looked at Grace. I'm here to warn. About what? She asked. Saris. She won't let this go. She's been positioning herself to take the Alpha King title for years. Seeing proof that the old bloodlines still exist, that they can still command wolves, it threatens everything she's built. So what will she do? Whatever it takes. Felix's expression was serious. Watch your back. Both of you. Because the games are just beginning. He stepped aside. They left. Back in the SUV, Grace finally let herself breathe. That was a disaster, she said. That was a victory. They wanted to kill me. They wanted an excuse to kill you. You didn't give them one. Saris will try again. I know. And next time I might not be able to control it. Raymond, I barely knew what I was doing in there. I was guessing. If those wolves had actually reached me before I figured out how to stop them. But they didn't. That's not the point. He pulled over. Put the car in park. Turned to face her. The point, he said carefully, is that you're stronger than you think. That gift inside you? It's not a curse. It's not a threat. It's power that's been waiting for you to claim it. And today you did. It doesn't feel like power. It feels like a target on my back. Welcome to what it means to be special. His expression softened. I know this is overwhelming. I know you didn't ask for any of it. But Grace, what you did in there, stopping those wolves, commanding them without violence, that's not something even experienced bloodline heirs could pull off. You're raw, untrained. And you still did it. What if I hurt someone next time? Then we'll deal with it. Together. She looked at him. Really looked at him. This man who'd let a stranger kiss him. Who'd protected her when he had no reason to. Who'd stood between her and a room full of predators and refused to back down. Why are you doing this? She asked quietly. Doing what? Risking everything for me. Your title. Your power. Your safety. I'm nobody to you. So why? He was quiet for a long moment. Because the first time I saw you, he said finally, standing in that gallery looking lost and angry and desperate, I recognized you. Recognize me how? As someone who'd been hurt by a world that didn't care. Someone who was tired of being small. Someone who deserved better than what they'd been given. His hand found hers. And, because when you kissed me, when that bond snapped into place, I felt something I haven't felt in years. What? Hope. The word hung between them. Small. Fragile. Real. Grace's throat tightened. I don't know if I can be what everyone expects. Then don't be. Just be yourself. That's more than enough. She wanted to believe him. Maybe she was starting to. The house felt different when they returned. Quieter. Emptier. Like the confrontation with the council had burned through all the noise and left only silence in its wake. Grace went straight upstairs. She needed space. Air. A moment where the world wasn't demanding she be something she didn't know how to be. But the moment she closed the bedroom door behind her, the adrenaline that had been holding her together finally crashed. Her hands shook. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps. The silver light flickered around her fingers, uncontrolled, wild, responding to the panic rising in her chest. She'd held 3 wolves suspended in midair. She'd commanded them with her mind. She'd threatened a room full of alphas and Mendit. Who is she? A knock at the door. Grace. Raymond's voice. Careful. Can I come in? She wanted to say no. Wanted to be alone with the fear and confusion swirling inside her. But she was tired of being alone. Yeah. The door opened. He stepped inside, carrying 2 mugs. The smell of chamomile filled the room. Tea, he said. It helps. After intense situations. She took the mug. Their fingers brushed. That spark again. Less violent than before, but still there. Still present. He sat on the edge of the bed. Not too close. Giving her space. They drank in silence for a while. I didn't know I could do that, she said finally. Command the wolves? Any of it. The light. The control. The way I could feel their minds. She looked at her hands. My grandmother never taught me. She died before she could explain what I was, what I could do. I've been flying blind my whole life. Maybe that's better. How? Because you're not bound by how things are supposed to work. You're figuring it out your own way. That makes you unpredictable. Dangerous in a way they can't plan for. I don't want to be dangerous. I know. But sometimes we don't get to choose what we are. We only get to choose what we do with it. She looked at him. Is that what happened to you? With the Alpha King thing? He smiled slightly. Yeah. I didn't ask for the title. It was inherited. My father was Alpha King before me. When he died, the power passed to me whether I wanted it or not. Did you want it? No. I wanted to be an architect. Design buildings. Create things that would last longer than I would. He stared into his tea. But my father died in a challenge. Murdered by someone who thought they could take his place. And the council made it clear either I stepped up or the entire territory would dissolve into chaos. So I stepped up. Do you regret it? Every day. He looked at her. But I also know that if I hadn't, a lot of good people would be dead. So I live with the weight. I make the hard choices. And I try not to think too much about the life I could have had. The honesty in his voice made her chest ache. We're quite a pair, she said softly. The Alpha King who didn't want to be king. The bloodline heir who didn't know she was an heir. Fate has a sick sense of humor. Or no sense at all. He almost laughed. Then his expression sobered. Grace, what happened today, it's not over. Saris meant what Felix said. She's going to come after you. After us. We need to be prepared. How do you prepare for something like that? Training. You need to learn to control your gift. Not just in moments of panic, but deliberately. Consistently. And who's going to teach me? My grandmother's dead. You said the bloodlines were hunted to extinction. Mostly. But there are records. Old texts. Traditions passed down. The sacred site we visited, there might be more there. Knowledge preserved in the stones themselves. Magic books and ancient wisdom. Great. Just what I need. It's better than nothing. She knew he was right. Okay, she said. When do we start? Tomorrow. But tonight, he set his mug aside. Tonight you need to rest. Actually rest. Not just lie awake worrying about everything that could go wrong. That's a tall order. I know. But try. He stood to leave. Raymond. He turned. Thank you, she said. For today. For standing with me when you could have just let them have me. His expression softened. I'll always stand with you. That's what the claim means. Not ownership. Partnership. Even if it costs you everything? Even then. He left, closing the door quietly behind him. Grace sat in the silence, holding the warm mug, feeling the weight of his words settle over her. Partnership. She'd never had that before. Her ex had talked about partnership, but it had always been conditional. Do what I want, be what I need, and we'll be fine. But Raymond didn't ask her to be anything except herself. Even when herself was terrifying and unknown and potentially world-ending. She finished her tea, climbed into bed, closed her eyes. And for the first time in days, she slept without dreaming. She woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. Downstairs, she found Raymond in the kitchen making breakfast. Eggs, toast, fresh fruit. You cook a lot, she observed, sliding into a chair. Stress relief. Gives me something to control when everything else is chaos. Fair. He plated food for both of them. They ate together, and it felt almost normal. Almost like this was just their life now, mornings in a quiet kitchen, sharing meals, existing in each other's space without effort. She could get used to this. The thought scared her more than the wolves had. After breakfast, Raymond led her to the basement. She'd assumed it would be storage or a wine cellar. Instead, it was a training space. Mats on the floor, weapons on the walls, a heavy bag in the corner, and in the center, a circle drawn in what looked like salt. "This is where I train," he explained. "It's warded, protected. Whatever you do down here won't leak out. Won't alert anyone to what you're practicing. Convenient. Necessary." He gestured to the circle. "Stand inside." She did. "Now," he said, "I want you to call your power. Deliberately. Not in response to fear or anger. Just call it. How? However feels right." She closed her eyes, took a breath, reached for that heat inside her. Nothing. She tried again. Focused harder. Still nothing. "It's not working," she said, frustrated. "Because you're trying to force it. It's not a tool you command. It's part of you. You don't force your hand to move, you just move it. Same principle. That doesn't make sense. It will. Try again. But this time, don't think about calling power. Think about who you are. What you feel. Let the power respond to that." She tried again. Thought about yesterday. The wolves. The fear. The moment she decided she was done being afraid. The silver light flickered to life. Weak at first. Then stronger. Brighter. It danced around her hands, warm and alive. "Good," Raymond said. "Now hold it. Don't let it fade. Just exist with it." She did. It was strange, standing there with light pouring from her hands, feeling the power hum through her veins. Not threatening. Not out of control. Just there. Part of her. "How does it feel?" Raymond asked. "Like I've been holding my breath my whole life and just now remembered how to breathe." He smiled. "That's perfect. That's exactly what it should feel like." They trained for hours. He taught her to hold the power steady, to pulse it in rhythm with her heartbeat, to shape it not into weapons, but into shields, barriers, gentle force that could push without harming. The bloodlines weren't warriors, he explained. They were protectors, mediators. Their gift was about balance, not destruction. Yes, your grandmother burned 3 packs to ash, but only after they slaughtered her family. That was defense, not offense. You're saying I'm not supposed to fight. I'm saying your strength isn't in violence. It's in control, in mercy, in being able to stop a threat without becoming one. By afternoon, she was exhausted. They broke for lunch, then returned for another session. This time, Raymond shifted. She'd never seen it before, the change from man to wolf. It was beautiful and terrible at once. His body rippling, reshaping, bones cracking and reforming until where a man had stood, a massive wolf now sat. His eyes, still Raymond's eyes, gold and intelligent, watched her. "What am I supposed to do?" she asked. He shifted back. "It happened faster this time, easier. Practice what you did yesterday. Connect with me. Not to control, just to understand." "Why?" "Because if we're going to survive what's coming, we need to be able to work together. I need to trust that you won't accidentally command me. You need to trust that I won't hurt you in wolf form. The only way to build that trust is practice." It made sense. Still terrifying, but it made sense. He shifted again. She took a breath. Reached out, not with her hands, but with that part of her that had felt the wolves yesterday. She found him immediately. His mind was different in wolf form. More instinct. More present. Less burdened by doubt and responsibility. There was peace in it. Freedom. She didn't push. Didn't try to command. Just touched. Acknowledged. A gentle brush of power that said, "I see you." The wolf, Raymond, stepped closer. Pressed his massive head against her legs. She ran her fingers through his fur, marveling at how soft it was. "You're beautiful," she whispered. He made a sound half growl, half purr, and she felt his pleasure at the compliment through their connection. They stayed like that for a long moment. Girl and wolf. Power and trust. 2 beings learning to exist in the same space without fear. When he shifted back, he was smiling. "See? Not so scary," says the giant wolf. "I prefer majestic creature." She laughed. Actually laughed. The sound surprised both of them. There, he said softly. That's the first time I've heard you laugh. Haven't had much to laugh about lately. We'll change that. They trained until sunset. By the time they finished, Grace's entire body ached, but she felt good. Strong. Like she'd taken a step toward understanding herself instead of running from it. Raymond ordered dinner, Thai food, which they ate straight from the containers while sitting on the living room floor. Why the floor? She asked. Because sometimes breaking routine helps you see things differently. Deep. I have my moments. They ate in comfortable silence. When they finished, Raymond built a fire in the fireplace. They sat watching the flames dance, neither of them speaking, but both of them there, present, aware, connected. Can I ask you something personal? Grace said finally. Sure. Have you ever been in love? He was quiet for so long she thought he wasn't going to answer. Then, once. A long time ago. What happened? She couldn't handle what I was. The power. The responsibility. The danger that came with being close to an alpha king. She left before things got too serious. I'm sorry. Don't be. She made the right choice. For her. He looked at Grace. Being with someone like me, it's not easy. There's always a threat. Always politics. Always someone trying to use the people I care about to get to me. Is that why you haven't been with anyone since? Partly. Also because I haven't met anyone who made me want to risk it. He paused. Until recently. Her breath caught. Raymond. I know. This isn't the time. There's too much happening. Too much at stake. But I need you to know, what I feel for you isn't just about the claim. It's not just magical obligation. Then what is it? He turned to face her fully. It's you. The way you stood up to a room full of alphas even though you were terrified. The way you chose mercy with the wolves when you could have chosen violence. The way you laugh like you've forgotten how and are just now remembering. He reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. You're brave and kind and stronger than you know. And every day I spend with you, I find another reason to fight for this. For us. Whatever this becomes. Her heart hammered. I'm scared, she admitted. Of me? Of this. Of what it means. Of letting myself feel something for you when everything is so complicated and dangerous and... He kissed her. Not like the kiss at the gallery. That had been impulse. Desperation. Performance. This was deliberate. Gentle. A question asked without words. Is this okay? Do you want this too? She answered by kissing him back. And this time, when the bond between them pulsed to life, it didn't feel like chaos. It felt like coming home. When they finally pulled apart, she was breathless. That was... Yeah, he agreed. What do we do now? Whatever feels right. She leaned her head against his shoulder. He wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. They sat like that for hours, watching the fire burn down to embers, neither of them willing to move, to break the spell, to acknowledge that outside this moment, the world was still waiting with all its threats and complications. But for now, just for now, they were allowed to be two people learning to trust each other. Learning to want each other. Learning that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is let yourself feel. 3 weeks. That's how long the peace lasted. 3 weeks of training. Of learning. Of mornings in Raymond's kitchen and evenings by the fire and slow, careful exploration of what existed between them. 3 weeks of pretending the world outside had forgotten about them. They should have known better. The attack came at dawn. Grace woke to the sound of breaking glass. Shouting. Raymond was already out of bed. She'd gotten used to him sleeping in the chair by her door, protective even in rest, and moving toward the window. Stay here, he ordered. What's happening? Company. The unwelcome kind. She grabbed a robe and followed him downstairs despite his instructions. The front lawn was full of wolves. Actual wolves. Dozens of them. All with glowing eyes. All radiating aggression. And standing at their center, in human form, was Saris. Come out, Alpha King, she called. We need to talk. Raymond opened the door but didn't step outside. You don't bring an army when you want to talk. I bring appropriate force for the situation. Her eyes found Grace standing behind Raymond. 3 weeks you've hidden her away. 3 weeks of no appearances. No public acknowledgements. Some are starting to wonder if the claim was ever real. If she even survived that first test. She's under my protection. That's all anyone needs to know. Is it? Because the council is convening in 2 hours. And they've called both of you to appear. To answer questions. To address concerns. What concerns? Sarah smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. There have been incidents. 3 packs reporting unauthorized wolf behavior. Wolves refusing commands from their alphas. Wolves acting independently. Almost as if someone was interfering with the natural hierarchy. Grace's stomach dropped. She hadn't. Had she? That's absurd, Raymond said. Grace hasn't left this property in 3 weeks. Then perhaps her power has grown stronger. Perhaps she doesn't need proximity to influence our kind anymore. Sarah's smile widened. Or perhaps she's been practicing. Learning how to corrupt what doesn't belong to her. You have no proof. I have 3 alpha testimonies. Sworn statements. Documentation of unusual pack behavior in the exact time frame that she's been under your protection. Circumstantial. Enough to warrant investigation. The council demands answers. 2 hours. The estate hall. If you don't appear, they'll assume guilt. She turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Alpha Raymond? I'd suggest you come with a very good explanation. Because right now, the evidence suggests your mate is exactly the threat we feared. And the penalty for that is binding. Permanent. Magical suppression that will strip her gift entirely. She shifted. The wolves followed. Within moments, the lawn was empty. Raymond closed the door. I didn't do anything, Grace said immediately. I haven't tried to influence any wolves except during training. I swear. I know. Then what? She's lying. Or someone is. This is a setup. How can you be sure? Because Saris has been trying to undermine me since the day I took the title. This is just her latest move. He ran a hand through his hair. But it doesn't matter if it's true. What matters is that they have statements. Documentation. Enough to make people doubt. So what do? We go to the council. We present our side. His phone rang. He answered. Listened. His expression went cold. When? Pause. How many? Another pause. I'm on my way. He ended the call. What? Grace demanded. There's been an attack. A pack about an hour north. Someone or something killed the Alpha and half his council. What does that have to do with us? The survivors claim it was silver fire. That the attacker used bloodline magic. The room tilted. No, Grace whispered. No, I was here. I was with you. I didn't. I know. But they don't. And now we have a dead Alpha, panicked survivors, and Saris's accusations all converging at the worst possible moment. This is a setup. A very thorough one. What do? He looked at her. Really looked at her. And she saw something in his eyes she hadn't seen before. Doubt. Not about her innocence. But about their chances. We go to the council, he said quietly. And we pray they listen to reason. The council hall was packed. Every Alpha in the region had come. Every witness. Every person with a stake in this outcome. Grace felt their eyes as Raymond led her to the center of the room. Hostile. Afraid. Certain they already knew the truth. Aaron stood from his seat. Alpha Raymond. Grace Winters. You've been called before this council to answer serious charges. I understand. Do you? Because a pack lies in ruins. An Alpha and his council are dead. And the survivors describe an attack using silver fire, a gift unique to the bloodline families. Grace was with me all night, Raymond said firmly. She couldn't have. Can you prove it? You need me to prove she was sleeping in my house? If you're claiming alibi, yes. We need proof. Otherwise, it's just your word. And that's not enough? I'm the Alpha King. You're also her mate. Bound to her. Of course you'd protect her. But the council requires objective evidence. Sarah stood. I have evidence. May I present? Aaron nodded. A screen lowered. Images appeared. Security footage from the attacked pack's territory. Time-stamped. Date-stamped. Showing a figure wreathed in silver light. Moving through the compound. Killing with precision. The figure's face was hidden. But the power was unmistakable. Silver fire. Bloodline magic. The room erupted in shouts. Grace stared at the screen in horror. That's not me. Can you prove it? Aaron asked. She faltered. I was home. Sleeping. Alone. Raymond was downstairs. So no one actually saw you. No one can confirm you were in bed the entire night. This is insane. Raymond's power flared. You're taking doctored footage over my testimony? The footage is authenticated, Sarah said calmly. Verified by 3 independent sources. Timestamps match the attack. The power signature matches bloodline magic. And conveniently, your mate has no alibi. Because she was sleeping. In my home. Under my protection. Or, another alpha said, standing, she was using your protection as cover. Learning from you. Training with you. Building her power while you helped her hide. And now she's strong enough to attack packs without leaving your territory. That's not enough, Aaron said. Grace Winters. Do you deny these charges? Yes. I deny them completely. I've never attacked anyone. I've never even left Raymond's property except for training at the sacred site. Interesting you mention the sacred site. Tell me when you were there. Did you learn anything? Discover any new abilities? She hesitated. I learned about my heritage. About the prophecy. The prophecy that says your power aligned with the Alpha Kings could either bring harmony or war. And yet here we are. Attacks. Deaths. Chaos. Which outcome does this look like to you? She couldn't answer. Because he was right. This was chaos. War brewing. Everything the prophecy had warned against. I move for binding, Saris announced. Immediate magical suppression to prevent further attacks. Seconded, another alpha called. Third. Fourth. The votes came fast. Too fast. This was planned. Orchestrated. They'd decided her fate before she ever walked into the room. Wait, Raymond said. You can't just. We can, Aaron interrupted. The council has the authority to bind threats to pack safety. And the evidence suggests she is exactly that. Then bind me too. If you're claiming I helped her, I'm just as guilty. Don't be ridiculous. I'm not. You want to punish her for crimes she didn't commit? Crimes someone clearly framed her for? Then you go through me first. The room went silent. Saris's eyes gleamed with triumph. Are you willing to risk everything for her, Alpha Raymond? Your title? Your power? Your life? Yes. Even knowing she might actually be guilty? She's not. But you can't prove it. He couldn't. And everyone in the room knew it. Aaron sighed. Alpha Raymond. Your loyalty is admirable. But it clouds your judgment. Step aside. Let us do what must be done. No, that wasn't a request. I don't care. Power filled the room. Multiple alphas standing, preparing to enforce the council's will. Grace felt her own power rising in response. Defensive. Protective. This was going to turn into a bloodbath. Stop. Everyone turned. A woman stood in the doorway. Young. Unfamiliar. But radiating power that made even the alphas take notice. Who are you? Aaron demanded. Someone who can prove Grace Winters is innocent. The woman walked forward. My name is Ava Thorne. I'm Bloodline. One of the last. And I'm the one who killed that pack. The room exploded. Shouts. Accusations. Denial. Ava raised her hand. Silver light blazed, stronger than Grace's, more controlled, clearly ancient and practiced. I killed them because they attacked my family. Because they found out what we were and decided to finish what their ancestors started centuries ago. So yes, I used silver fire. Yes, I made it look like Grace did it. Because I wanted you to turn on her. To prove that nothing has changed. That you still blame us for existing. That peace was never an option. You admit to murder? Aaron said, stunned. I admit to justice. Those wolves murdered my sister. My mother. 3 children who'd never hurt anyone. They burned our home and laughed while doing it. Her voice broke. So yes, I killed them. And I'd do it again. Why frame Grace? Raymond asked. Because I wanted to see if the prophecy was real. If an Alpha King would truly stand with a bloodline heir. If anything had changed in all these centuries. Ava looked at Raymond. And you did. You stood with her even when all evidence said you shouldn't. Even when it cost you everything. That's rare. Unprecedented, actually. Where are you going with this? Saris demanded. I'm turning myself in. For my crimes. Real ones. Not fabricated accusations against an innocent woman. Ava extended her wrists. Bind me. Punish me. But let her go. She's done nothing except survive in a world that hates her for breathing. Aaron looked between Ava and Grace. How do we know you're telling the truth? That this isn't another trick. Because I can show you. Ava touched the screen. The security footage rewound. Zoomed in on the attacker's face. It was her. Not Grace. Clearly, unmistakably Ava. I didn't hide my face in the original footage. Your security teams edited it to protect Saris's narrative. Check the raw files. Check the original recordings. You'll see I'm telling the truth. Saris went pale. That's true, Felix said, appearing from the back of the room holding a tablet. I pulled the original files. They show Ava's face. Someone edited them before presenting to the council. He looked at Saris. Someone with access to high-level security protocols. Someone who wanted to frame Grace. Someone like, oh, I don't know. A rival Alpha desperate to discredit the Alpha King. Saris's face twisted with rage. You have no proof. I have your digital signature on the edited files. Want to keep denying? The room turned on Saris. Shouts of betrayal. Accusations. Demands for her removal from the council. Aaron raised his hand. Silence fell. Alpha Saris. You stand accused of evidence tampering. Council manipulation. Conspiracy to harm a protected individual. How do you plead? Saris said nothing. You will be stripped of your Alpha status. Your pack will be reassigned. And you will be bound, not Grace Winters, to prevent further abuse of power. No. But wolves were already moving. Saris tried to fight, tried to shift, but she was outnumbered. Within minutes, she was bound. Powerless. Led away screaming promises of revenge. Aaron turned to Ava. And you? You admit to killing an Alpha and his council. I do. The punishment for that is death. I know. Wait, Grace said, stepping forward. They killed her family. Her children. That's not murder. That's defense. After the fact isn't defense. Then what is it? Justice? Isn't that what you claim to provide? Aaron studied her. You're asking me to spare her life. I'm asking you to see that she's not the villain here. The wolves who killed her family are. And if you execute her for defending herself, you prove she was right. That nothing has changed. That will never have peace. The room was silent. Please, Grace continued. If the prophecy means anything, if this claim, this bond, this whole mess has any purpose, let it be mercy. Let it be choosing healing over vengeance. Aaron looked at Ava. At Grace. At Raymond standing beside her. Exile, he said finally. Permanent. You leave these territories and never return. That's the compromise. I accept, Ava said immediately. Then go. Before I change my mind. Ava walked toward the door. But she paused beside Grace. Thank you, she whispered. For being brave enough to love them even after what they did to us. For proving that maybe, just maybe, something different is possible. Then she was gone. The council dispersed slowly. Grace and Raymond were left standing in the empty hall. That was, Grace started. Insane. Terrifying. Nearly catastrophic. Yeah. He pulled her into his arms. She let herself be held, feeling the fear finally drain away. I thought they were going to bind me, she admitted. I wouldn't have let them. You almost started a war trying to stop them. Would have been worth it. She pulled back to look at him. You really meant it. What you said. You'd risk everything for me. Every single thing. Why? He touched her face gently. Because you're worth it. Because this us is worth fighting for. And because I'm tired of living in a world where power means more than people. Where fear means more than hope. She kissed him. Deep. Grateful. Real. When they pulled apart, she whispered, "Let's go home." Home. Your place. Our place. Whatever it is. Let's just go there. Together. He smiled. Yeah. Let's go home. They had 6 days. 6 days of peace before everything exploded. 6 days where Grace finally let herself believe maybe, just maybe, they'd survive the worst of it. She should have known better. The attack came at night. Not wolves this time. Something worse. Grace woke to screaming. Not from inside the house. From outside. From the city. From everywhere all at once. She ran to the window. The sky was wrong. Blood red. Roiling with clouds that moved against the wind. And in the distance, she could see fire. Not normal fire. Black fire. Consuming buildings, spreading faster than anything natural. Raymond burst into her room. Get dressed. Now. We need to move. What's happening? The prophecy. The other side of it. The part we hoped wouldn't come true. Her blood went cold. War. Worse. Someone's trying to break the old compact. The agreements that keep our world hidden from humans. If they succeed, everything comes out. Wolves. Bloodlines. All of it. Exposed. Who would do that? Someone who wants chaos. Who thinks the old world needs to burn before anything new can grow. He tossed her clothes. We have 5 minutes. Then we're leaving. Where? The sacred site. It's the only place strong enough to withstand what's coming. She dressed in record time. Downstairs, she found Felix and 3 other wolves she recognized from the council. They're coming with us, she asked. We're going to need all the help we can get, Raymond said grimly. They piled into 2 vehicles and drove north. Fast. The roads were chaos, people fleeing, fires spreading, the city tearing itself apart. How long do we have? Grace asked. Until what? Until the compact breaks completely. Until humans see. Hours. Maybe less. Whoever's doing this has been planning it for a long time. They're hitting multiple points simultaneously. Breaking wards. Destroying sacred sites. Forcing us into the open. Can we stop it? Maybe. If we can get to the main site. If we can reinforce the old magic before it's too late. They drove faster. The sacred site looked different at night. The stones glowed faintly silver and gold, responding to the crisis, trying to hold back the chaos spreading across the territory. But even from a distance, Grace could see they were failing. Cracks ran through several of the stones. The circle's perfect geometry was breaking apart. Oh no, she whispered. They parked, ran toward the circle, and found they weren't alone. Ava stood in the center. But she wasn't alone either. With her were dozens of people. Bloodline survivors. Faces hard with centuries of rage. Eyes blazing with power barely contained. And leading them. Grace's heart stopped. Her mother. The woman she hadn't seen in 15 years. The woman who'd abandoned her. The woman who'd said their family was cursed and she wanted nothing to do with it. Standing there. Blazing with silver fire. Looking like everything her grandmother had once been. Mom? Her mother's expression didn't change. Grace. I wondered if you'd come. What are you doing here? What should have been done centuries ago? Ending this. All of it. The hiding. The fear. The pretending we're weaker than we are. You're breaking the compact? I'm freeing us. All of us. No more hiding. No more letting them dictate how we exist. If the humans find out about us, fine. Let them. Let's see who really has the power then. You'll start a war. Humans will hunt us. Both sides. They'll kill everyone who's different. Or they'll kneel. The way they always have when faced with power they can't match. Raymond stepped forward. Catherine. Stop this. You don't want to do this. You don't get to tell me what I want, Alpha King. Your kind murdered my mother, my sisters, my daughter's grandmother. You've hunted us for centuries. And now you want peace? You want coexistence? It's too late for that. Is it? Grace moved toward her mother. Because I've been living with wolves for weeks now. Training with them. Learning from them. And you know what I found? They're not monsters. Some of them are. But most are just people. Trying to survive. Trying to protect what they love. Same as us. You've been brainwashed. I've been shown another option. One that doesn't require genocide. One that doesn't require destroying the world to prove we're strong enough to survive in it. Her mother laughed. Bitter. Cold. You sound just like your grandmother. She believed in peace too. Right up until they murdered her for it. Then maybe you should honor her by not proving her murderers right. By not becoming the monster they claimed we were. I'm not the monster. They are. Then don't act like them. The shout echoed through the stones. Silence fell. Grace's power flared, instinctive, defensive, massive. Silver light poured from her hands, brighter than it had ever been, responding to the depth of her emotion. The stones responded. All of them. Blazing to life. Silver and gold mixing, swirling, the ancient magic waking fully for the first time in centuries. And Grace felt it. The compact. The old agreement. The bond between wolf and bloodline that had been broken so long ago. It was still there. Damaged. Fractured. But still there. And it was reaching for her. Two powers. One purpose. The voice from her vision. Ancient. Tired. Desperate. You must choose. Destruction or harmony. War or peace. The choice has always been yours. Both of you. Grace looked at Raymond. He was glowing too. Gold light. Alpha power in its purest form. They were the prophecy. Not because of destiny, but because they'd chosen each other. Chosen trust over fear. Chosen partnership over dominance. And now the old magic wanted them to choose again. Mom, Grace said quietly. I know you're hurting. I know you've lost everything. I know you want revenge. But this isn't the way. This will just create more orphans. More grieving mothers. More pain. So, what would you have me do? Forgive them? No. Make them earn it. Make them prove they've changed. Make them build a world where our children don't have to hide. She extended her hand. But do it with me. Not against me. Her mother stared at her hand. At her daughter. At the power blazing between Grace and Raymond. You really believe it's possible, she said softly. Peace. Coexistence. All of it. I have to believe it. Because the alternative is this. Forever. Ava stepped forward. She's right. I thought violence was the answer too. But all it did was make me into what they claimed I was. Maybe it's time we tried something different. One by one, the other bloodlines lowered their hands. The black fire in the distance began to fade. The sky started to clear. Her mother took Grace's hand. The moment their fingers touched, power exploded through the circle. Silver and gold and something new, something that hadn't existed for centuries. Harmony. The stones blazed. The cracks sealed. The compact reformed, not as it had been, but as something stronger. Something chosen. Something built on willingness instead of fear. The old voice spoke one last time. The balance is restored. Not through dominance, but through choice. Through mercy. Through two powers remembering they were never meant to be enemies. Guard this. Protect it. Because it is fragile. And the world will test it. But you have proven it possible. Now prove it can last. The light faded. Grace swayed. Raymond caught her. Around them, bloodlines and wolves stood staring at each other, wary, uncertain, but no longer actively trying to kill each other. It was a start. Aaron arrived with the rest of the council. He looked at the restored stones. At Grace and Raymond still glowing faintly. At Catherine and the bloodline survivors standing peacefully. What happened here, he asked. A choice, Raymond said simply. We chose differently. And the compact? Restored. Stronger. But it requires active maintenance now. Both sides working together. No more hiding. No more pretending we can exist separately. That's a significant change. Yes, it is. Aaron studied them. Then, slowly, he knelt. Alpha King. Bloodline heir. The council recognizes your claim. Not as political convenience, but as genuine bond. As prophecy fulfilled. He looked up. Will you lead us into this new era? Grace looked at Raymond. He looked at her. They'd never wanted this. Never asked for it. But it was theirs now. Together, Grace said. We lead together. Or not at all. Together, Raymond agreed. Aaron rose. Smiled. Then may the new era begin. They stayed at the sacred site until dawn. Bloodlines and wolves talking. Negotiating. Beginning the long, difficult work of building something new. Grace found her mother standing alone near the largest stone. You're leaving, Grace said. It wasn't a question. I need time. To process. To figure out who I am if I'm not defined by rage. Her mother touched Grace's face. But I'm proud of you. Your grandmother would be too. I wish I could have known her better. She knew you. Saw you. Even as a child, she said you'd be the one to bridge the divide. I didn't believe her. But she was right. She was always right. Her mother kissed her forehead. I'll be back. When I'm ready. When I can be the mother you deserved. I'll be here. Her mother smiled, sad, but genuine, and walked away. Grace watched her go. Felt Raymond's arms wrap around her from behind. You okay? He asked. I don't know. Ask me in a few years. He laughed quietly. Fair. They stood together, watching the sun rise over the stones. Watching the world change. Watching something new begin. We're going to have to work hard at this, Grace said. Peace doesn't maintain itself. No, it doesn't. People will challenge us. Test us. Try to break what we've built. Probably. And we might fail. This might all fall apart despite our best efforts. It might. She turned in his arms. Looked up at him. But we're going to try anyway. Aren't we? He smiled. Every single day. She kissed him. Deep. Real. Full of promise and hope and the terrifying knowledge that they'd just signed up for something bigger than themselves. But also full of certainty. That whatever came next, they'd face it together. That the bond between them, forged in defiance, tested by fire, proven through choice, was strong enough to hold. That love, real love, wasn't about perfection. It was about choosing each other. Again and again and again. No matter what. 6 months later. The city looked different now. Not physically. The buildings were the same. The streets followed the same patterns. The coffee shop on the corner still made terrible espresso, and Grace still went there every Tuesday because the owner, a wolf named Thomas, always asked about her day like he genuinely cared. But everything felt different. Because people knew now. Not humans. The compact had held, barely, by threads and constant maintenance, but it had held. The human world remained blissfully ignorant of the supernatural one existing alongside it. But within that hidden world, everything had changed. Bloodlines were emerging from hiding. Slowly. Carefully. But emerging. Wolves were learning to share territory. Share resources. Share power with beings they'd been taught to fear. It wasn't perfect. There were fights. Disputes. Moments when the whole fragile structure felt like it might collapse under the weight of centuries of hatred. But it was holding. Because people like Grace and Raymond stood in the gap. Day after day. Making the hard choices. Mediating the conflicts. Proving through their existence that coexistence was possible. That love between wolf and bloodline wasn't weakness. It was strength. Grace stood in front of the mirror in what had become their shared bedroom. She'd stopped calling it the guest room months ago, adjusting the necklace Raymond had given her last week. A simple silver pendant. No gems. No flash. Just a wolf and a flame intertwined. Symbolic, she'd teased when he'd given it to her. Accurate, he'd corrected. Tonight was important. The first formal gathering. Bloodlines and wolves together. Celebrating the 6-month anniversary of the compact's restoration. It was political, performative, necessary, but it was also real. Real people, real progress, real hope that maybe, just maybe, they were building something that would last. You ready? Raymond appeared in the doorway, looking unfairly good in a dark suit. No, but when has that ever stopped us? He smiled, crossed the room, took her hands. You're shaking, he observed. I'm terrified. Of what? Failing them. All of them. The wolves who are trying to trust. The bloodlines who are trying to hope. What if we can't do this? What if 6 months from now or 6 years from now it all falls apart and people blame us for giving them false hope? He pulled her close. Then we'll have tried. That's more than anyone else has done in centuries. That's not comforting. I know, but it's true. He tilted her chin up. Grace, you've already changed the world. You stood in front of a council that wanted you dead and showed them mercy. You convinced your mother to choose peace over vengeance. You restored a compact that everyone said was impossible to fix. Whatever happens next, whether this lasts a year or 100 years, you've already proven it's possible. That's everything. Her eyes burned. When did you get so wise? I have a very smart mate who keeps teaching me things. She sounds insufferable. Completely. But I love her anyway. The words still made her breath catch. Love. They'd said it before. Many times now. But it never got old. Never lost its power. She kissed him. Soft. Quick. Promise of more later. Come on, she said. Let's go show them how it's done. The gathering was held at a neutral location. Not wolf territory. Not bloodline space. A restored estate on the outskirts of the city that had been purchased jointly, the first property owned by both groups together. It was packed. Wolves in elegant clothes. Bloodlines in traditional dress. Flowing fabrics that caught the light. Silver embroidery that spoke of old families and older magic. And in the center of it all, trying to exist in the same space without old hatreds rising up. Grace and Raymond entered together. Conversations paused. Heads turned. They were a symbol now, whether they liked it or not. The Alpha King and the Bloodline Heir. Wolf and Flame. The living proof that the prophecy wasn't just destruction. It could be creation too. Aaron approached first, smiling warmly. You came. Good. We were beginning to worry. We're fashionably late, Grace said. Isn't that what leaders do? Only the confident ones. Felix joined them, bringing wine. To 6 months of not killing each other. May we make it to 12. They drank. The evening progressed. Speeches. Toasts. Moments of genuine connection between people who months ago would have been enemies. But there were tense moments too. Arguments that had to be mediated. Old wounds that surfaced. Wolves who couldn't quite let go of fear. Bloodlines who couldn't quite forgive centuries of persecution. Each time, Grace and Raymond stepped in. Not as authority figures demanding compliance, but as partners showing it could be done. That conflict didn't have to end in violence. That disagreement didn't have to mean war. Late in the evening, Grace found herself on the terrace. Alone. Needing air. Needing space from the weight of everyone's expectations. Her mother joined her. Catherine looked different now. Softer. Less consumed by rage. She'd been spending time at a bloodline sanctuary in the mountains, working through her grief, learning to exist without anger as her defining trait. Big night, Catherine said. Yeah, you're handling it well. I'm faking it well. There's a difference. Her mother smiled. That's all anyone ever does. Fake it until it becomes real. They stood in silence for a moment. I'm leaving again tomorrow, Catherine said. Heading back to the sanctuary. But I wanted to tell you I'm coming back. Permanently. In a month or so. Grace looked at her. Really? Really? I can't keep running from this. From you. From the life we could have. Your grandmother would have wanted me to be here. To watch you build this new world. To help if I can. I'd like that. Me too. They hugged. Awkward at first, they were still learning how to be family again, but genuine. When they pulled apart, Grace said, Mom. Thank you. for choosing differently that night, for not burning it all down. Thank you for giving me a reason not to. As midnight approached, Raymond found Grace on the terrace. There you are. People are asking for you. Let them ask. I needed a minute. Fair. He joined her at the railing. What are you thinking about? Everything. Nothing. Whether any of this is real or if we're all just pretending really hard. Does it matter? If the pretending works. I guess not. They stood together, looking out at the city lights. Do you ever regret it? Grace asked quietly. That kiss at the gallery. Everything that came after. The prophecy and the politics and the constant pressure to be something bigger than we are. He was quiet for a long moment. I regret that you got pulled into my world without choosing it. I regret that you've had to fight and bleed and carry weight that should never have been yours. I regret that loving me made you a target. He turned to face her. But I don't regret you. Not for a second. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. And if I could go back to that night, knowing everything that would come after all the pain and fear and impossible choices, I'd still let you kiss me. I'd still choose you. Every time. Her throat tightened. Even though I'm difficult and stubborn and sometimes I wake you up at 3 in the morning because I'm panicking about whether we're doing enough. Especially because of that. She laughed. Watery. Real. I love you, she said. Even though you're overprotective and you make decisions without asking me first and you think cooking solves all problems. It solves most problems. It really doesn't. He grinned. Pulled her close. Stay with me. Build this with me. However long it lasts. However hard it gets. Where else would I go? Is that a yes? That's a try to get rid of me and see what happens. I'll take it. He kissed her. And standing there on the terrace, with the party continuing inside, with the city spreading out below them, with the weight of the world on their shoulders and the future uncertain as ever. They were happy. Not perfectly. Not without fear. But genuinely. Deeply. Impossibly happy. Because they'd found each other. Because they'd chosen each other. Because love, real love, wasn't about fairy tale endings. It was about standing together in the mess and the chaos and the beautiful, terrifying uncertainty of building something new. And choosing every single day to try. The night ended. People left. Promising to return. To keep trying. To keep building. Grace and Raymond drove home in comfortable silence. The house welcomed them. Warm. Familiar. Safe. They climbed into bed together, a ritual now no longer strange, just right, and Grace curled into Raymond's side, her head on his chest, his arm around her. Do you think it'll last? She asked. What we're building? I don't know, but I think we'll fight like hell to make it last. And sometimes that's enough. And if it's not, then we'll have tried. Together. And that'll be its own kind of victory. She thought about that. About victories and failures and the space in between where most of life actually happened. About prophecies and choices and the difference between destiny and decision. About a kiss in a gallery that changed everything. About becoming someone she never expected to be. About loving someone she never expected to find. Hey, Raymond. Yeah, thank you for letting me kiss you that night. He laughed quietly. Thank you for being brave enough to do it. They fell asleep like that. Two people who'd found each other in the chaos. Two powers that had learned to be one purpose. Wolf and flame. Alpha and air. Partners. Equals. Whole. So, let me ask you something. If you'd been standing in that gallery 6 months ago, watching a heartbroken woman kiss a stranger out of spite, watching an ancient bond snap into place, watching destiny choose two people who never asked to be chosen, would you have believed it could end like this? With peace instead of war? With love instead of hatred? With hope instead of fear? Or would you have been like the council? Like Ceres? Like all the voices that screamed she was dangerous, he was foolish, they would destroy everything? Would you have chosen her side? Or would you have feared her too? Because here's the thing about people like Grace, people who carry power they didn't ask for, who get pulled into stories they didn't write, who have to choose every single day between becoming the monster everyone says they are or proving everyone wrong. They need you to believe in them. Not blindly, not without question, but enough to give them space to become something other than what fear dictates. Enough to see that power doesn't make someone evil. Only how they use it does. And Grace chose mercy, chose peace, chose love. Even when violence would have been easier. Even when vengeance would have felt better. Even when everyone expected her to burn the world down. She chose differently. So I'll ask again. Would you have chosen her side? Would you have stood with the Alpha King who loved a bloodline heir? Would you have believed the prophecy could mean creation instead of destruction? Or would you have been one of the voices calling for her binding? Her exile? Her death? Think about it. Because the answer tells you something about yourself. About whether you're someone who sees potential or threat in people who are different. About whether you believe change is possible or if you think the past always determines the future. About whether you're brave enough to hope. And maybe, just maybe, about what kind of world you want to live in. One built on fear? Or one built on the wild, impossible, terrifying belief that people can choose to be better than their worst instincts? That love can be stronger than hatred? That a kiss meant as revenge can become a vow? That even broken things can be made whole again? Grace and Raymond chose to believe. Against all odds. Against all logic. Against everyone who said it was impossible. They chose each other. They chose differently. And the world changed because of it. Not perfectly. Not completely. But enough. Enough to matter. Enough to give others hope. Enough to prove that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is love someone the world says you shouldn't. And trust that love to be stronger than the fear trying to tear it apart. So here's my question for you. What would you choose? Fear or hope? War or peace? The safe, predictable hatred of old enemies? Or the dangerous, uncertain possibility of something new? Think about it. Sit with it. Let it burn in your chest the way Grace's power burned in hers. And when you have your answer, when you know, deep in your bones, which side you'd choose, remember this story. Remember that a single choice, made in defiance and desperation, can change everything. That love found in chaos can be the strongest kind. That people who've been hurt the most can still choose kindness. That prophecies aren't instructions, they're possibilities. And that sometimes, the girl everyone calls dangerous is just a girl who needs someone to believe in her. So believe. In love. In change. In the impossible made real. And if this story lit something inside you, if it made you feel something you thought you'd forgotten how to feel, if it reminded you that hope is a choice we make every single day, then subscribe to Cindy's Wolfheart Stories. Because here, we tell tales that burn. Stories about broken people becoming whole. About love found in unlikely places. About choices that change everything. About power that doesn't corrupt. About mercy that isn't weakness. About prophecies fulfilled by people brave enough to choose differently. We tell stories that remind you the world is bigger, stranger, and more beautiful than you thought possible. Stories that ask, what would you do if destiny chose you? And then show you what happens when ordinary people become extraordinary. Not because they wanted to, but because they had to. And because love made them brave enough to try. So subscribe. Join us. Be part of something that believes in hope even when hope seems foolish. Because Grace and Raymond's story isn't over. This was just the beginning. And the next chapter? It's going to burn brighter than anything that came before. Subscribe to Cindy's Wolfheart Stories. Because some tales are worth believing in. And this is one of them.